Hi everyone, this is Sajid from Discover Coworking, and with me I have the amazing Michele, who is the Director of Culture and Marketing here at Brickyard Coworking. We are in the suburbs of Washington DC or Northern Virginia. Michele is also known as Dr. Fixer around here.
Yes.
Right, and we will soon find out why it is, and I'm sure you will also find out, why she is called Dr. Fixer.
Yes.
With that, Michele, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah,
it's great to have you. So tell me, how did you find out about Brickyard? How did you learn about Brickyard? Where did you?
Honestly, I feel like it was super, and it landed on my lap, actually. I am a military spouse, so I've had to get really creative about all the different career choices I've had to make. I've been really intentional the last 10 years about what kind of culture I wanted to be part of. So I picked different companies like Nordstrom and Apple, and really from that, I've just been culture-centered. And so when this opportunity came up, I was coming from a consulting opportunity where I was over 2 boutiques, where I was able to take all my experiences from Nordstrom and Apple and implement culture and guidelines into 2 boutiques and help them thrive and be able to sustain as boutiques competing with big doors like Nordstrom, and just giving them very similar guidelines and implementations and what their experiences should look like. My husband is military, and so he got an amazing opportunity in Montgomery, Alabama at the Air War College. So he went there for a year, and I was working 65 hours a week. And the constant conflict with military spouses is when a military member leaves or TDYs or deploys or anything like that, we end up having to choose family or career, right? So when this opportunity, I literally it was a Facebook ad, and I tell Ann this all the time. It had only been up for 5 minutes. And I was like, click. It said, only, part-time, school hours. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I can have work-life balance. And I really wasn't familiar with coworking. I didn't really know. I just knew that the time frame for what I was capable of handling for my family was ideal, right? And I get here and I realize everything crosses over, like the culture and the high-touch experience and just the ability to manage, in a sense, my members, which are kind of like my people, and help them, empower them, and connect them to resources is all things I've already been doing. And so I'm just it was a natural integration into this place. And now I was even exposed even more really to the economic development in the chamber and all these like tech businesses and more of the business aspect, right? So my focus ended up becoming more focused on gradually fashion, which is predominantly what it's been, to now just business support. And this is a perfect place to be able to implement all those things. So
fabulous. And at the same time, you took away my second question, which was like...
I over answered.
Yes, you over answered. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As you can see. However, that's good. You touched on it because I was going to ask you, were you familiar with co-working? So
I wasn't familiar.
So what were the first thing that went through your head? Like co-working, what is it? Or because you were in consulting.
I was, and memberships and really what it took to. What does having community mean in co-working? Because I predominantly had just come from a small business who needed to form community to thrive, I was doing a lot of this for them.
Yes.
So I was doing grassroots reach out partnerships and saying, hey, let's co-collaborate and do events together at our place. And this just translated. It was very easy for me to say, okay, all we need is a few intentional partnerships to expand the amenities of this co-working space. And so when somebody comes in and says, I'm a member of Brickyard, it means more than that.
Yes.
What's in the 4 walls, right? It means I have a huge backyard to play in, and I have amenities that extend past this place. So that's why I've built intentional partnerships with TopGolf and the Fitness Equation, and of course the Spring Hill Suites, and any other small businesses that aren't necessarily directly members of us, but our members could utilize those resources, like a marketing group or a recruiting company, and being intentional about them being boutique and local and small business. So they're all speaking the same languages, and one community isn't feeling like they're taken by another larger company. They don't understand kind of what they're going through. So it's been great because the exposure through the chamber and the economic development has really taught me too what it needs to continue to thrive. So I've just kind of taken that and brought it back here.
I love the word intentional partnership.
Yeah.
Right, because not everyone uses it, and I think it shows how strategic your thinking is in terms of creating partnerships. Please, and that's something not everyone talks about. So I'm going to drill a little bit deeper.
Sure.
So when you reached out to TopGolf or the Spring Hill Suites, which are nearby, what were the first reaction, or how did you break the ice? I'm sure were they as surprised with what is co-working, or were they aware of it, or who did you talk to, and what happened?
It was funny because I came here and Anne was like, "What is the first thing you want to do?" And she's like, "We like to have some events." I said, "Done. We'll do 2 this month, right?" And she was just like, "Okay." I said, "I already know what they're going to be." She's like, "Okay," and I knew that I knew that there were such great amenities right here, right? So TopGolf was brand new in a sense. It's only been here for a couple of years, and I know that when I came here, the people just work and go home, right? And really, they're trying to find escape from their house or from a coffee shop and find a very productive and collaborative space, and really they just go home, after this. So I wanted to let them know, while you're here, if you want to take a lunch or entertain your clients, I knew there were certain places that would be able to do that. So I went to TopGolf and I talked to Trey, and he is the director of the platinum memberships there. And I said, "Hey, is there something we can do together, that could really benefit both of us, because it has to be a beneficial partnership, right?" So he's like, "Absolutely." They were super generous and said, "We'll do platinum for the day, and we'll come out and we'll bring some swag and introduce ourselves." And that was kind of one of the first things we did. And they came over, introduced themselves as a team, and brought out some swag and little TopGolf niche stuff, hats and gloves and super cool things, cups, and said, "Hey, we're here. We'd love to give you platinum for a day experience. Maybe do a group free lesson as Brickyard." And so, it's one of those things that I know that my members also could benefit from. Possibly having their own private platinum memberships for their company, where they can have an extended conference space, where they could do it on the golf, on the putting greens, or having lunch there because there's a conference room available there too. So really, just expanding what they can do and resources and how to continue to grow their business. And I knew that relationship was going to be very intentional. And plus, you got to have work-life balance, right? You got to take care of your mind and your body. So that's why I reached out to the TFE. So, and that partnership allowed us to have a very great discounted corporate rate for our members, and so many have taken advantage of it. So it's been awesome.
Okay, great. And did you know Trey beforehand, or was that just basically calling them up and
It was just calling them up.
Really?
Really. I didn't know any of these people. I knew what would make sense, right? I knew what would make sense for our community as far as what amenities would be needed. Like, we have a partnership with the dry cleaning downstairs, right? We get 20% off, and so it's just one of those things that our members are business women and men who need dry cleaning, right? And so why not utilize our, one of our, tenants downstairs right here while you're at work, in a sense, while you're, and some of our members have already taken advantage of that, and that's been awesome. So yeah, very intentional. What's productive? What's a productive relationship? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for touching base on that. And now, what does your day-to-day role looks like?
So day-to-day, what's really required to kind of make this space what Brickyard is known for now, right? It's the partnerships that I have with the property manager and with the maintenance team and with Mary, the operations manager, and Ann, the founder. And if there's the day-to-day for me would be coming in and making sure that the kitchen's clean and that the trash is, not full, and that we have our supplies as far as our beverages are always full, so that is really just kind of maintaining the day-to-day and maintaining the conference spaces that, it's fair and that everybody gets an opportunity to use them. Because right now everything's inclusive. And everyone can't believe it, right? We're the only co-working space that is inclusive to the conference space usage and for printing. And it works for us now. I mean, as long as the members continue to be respectful and mindful of each other, we don't really want to put those handicaps, right? That's the community we are trying to strive, and the culture we're trying to strive. And the biggest thing is, because I come from a management background, I'm able to communicate with people in a way that says, look, you gotta be mindful of your time, right? And I know how to execute that conversation, appropriately. And I'm not afraid to do that. And they love me for that. They're like, got it, thank you. I was just running over time. Thank you for reminding me. But those are the type of things, and our members don't know anything that's going on that's wrong, if there's a toilet backed up, if there's a plumbing issue, or this or that, because we are umbrellaed under a corporate real estate company. All of that is in-house for us. So that's kind of what separates us from other co-working spaces, right, where they have to call somebody. Where for us, these people are, all these amazing people are salaried under Clark Cook. So we just call them within 24 hours. Things are just resolved, and nobody knows, and it doesn't affect their day-to-day, their productivity.
Okay, cool. I think you missed one thing. You also do tours, right?
I do tours.
Yeah.
We definitely, obviously, this wouldn't be a co-working space without memberships. So yeah, no, really. I mean, we schedule tours. We make sure it's on a calendar, so that any one of us can see if one person isn't going to be here. Me and Mary kind of tag team on that, and we'll do tours on a day-to-day. Sign people up for membership. We've expanded twice now, so the expansion is going to be revealed for the second expansion next week. And so, of course, tours for the private spaces that are still available, and what does that look like? And yeah, it's great, and our members always say, like, there's a lot of different co-working spaces out there, but something is definitely different here. And really what it is, it's the people, it's us, that we really care that you have a productive and collaborative space. And that for that to happen, there can't be a whole lot of distractions, right? And so we make sure the building, the facility, and all the amenities and the supplies are always here.
Thank you. How are people finding out? I mean, Brickyard has, last year I interviewed Anne.
Yeah. Right.
And it's fast forward 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting here with you, and hopefully if Anne gives me time, I'll sit down with her as well. Yeah. How are, people finding out about Brickyard?
Still word of mouth.
Wow.
Still, it's referral, honestly. A lot of our new, especially in the last 3 months, there's just been a huge influx of interest for Flex and Dedicated, right? So my friend goes here, he told me to come by. That's how it is. That's how the last, at least half of them, right? The other is just looking up co-working space, and we're at least top 3. So that has been great. And we don't really put a lot of money in marketing right now, right? So it's just hasn't been needed, because we've always been almost at 100% the whole time, and so it's been amazing, because it's really just kind of speaks for the experience itself that people are having, so that they're recommending it.
I think I will, for someone who has been to many spaces and have been to spaces in different countries and continents, I just want to touch on that is I think a lot of the co-working space owners get it wrong. They start thinking everything like square foot and dollars and cents, right, and then nickel and dime and everything.
Right.
Whereas I think in the Brickyard, what I'm understanding is that because of this openness and the inclusiveness and the
right,
focus on experience,
right,
less on the real estate aspect,
right,
I think that creates a very good feeling. And as a result, people are talking about it. I would think there's a very strong brand value in the market, even if it's locally. But still, there's people understand what Brickyard is and what it stands for, because they have built a brand.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to share that, my 2 cents in
I
there.
appreciate that. No, I think you're right. I think it's it's spot on, and it's one of those things where that is our separator, really, right? Is that we keep the price competitive, and we keep it inclusive. That works for us right now, and we just create an environment where people are mindful and we're vocal about that. Like, hey, we're a community. We need to be mindful, clean up after each other, be mindful of the conference spaces. We don't want to charge you more, and they're super responsive to that.
Very nice. Thank you. So what would be some suggestions for, someone who is new into this whole culture or into managing co-working spaces? Someone's new and probably doesn't have as much experience as you do,
right.
Especially coming from Nostrum,
right.
which is known around the world. It's like the
high-touch customer experience.
Yes.
Customer's always right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And come to Apple.
Yes.
Apple is also pretty good,
very good
in terms of experience and whole thing.
Absolutely.
So what would be some advice for them?
Honestly, the feedback we're getting from people leaving other co-working spaces is maintenance, the cleanliness, right? I think it's one of those things where people just open up a space and they turn on some Wi-Fi and they provide some coffee and they have some desks, and they forget that people still, they are more interested in the numbers, right? They're like, oh, it's okay if 3 people leave, then 3 people will come in, right? Mm-hmm. But we are our ability to maintain members for a long period of time is due to the fact that we are mindful of the space. We are mindful of the cleanliness, and we are mindful that these things aren't distractions, and they become distractions for people when they feel like I can't even go into the kitchen and get a cup of coffee because there's never any coffee or there's never any clean dishes, and the whole purpose of me coming here and saving money is so that I don't have to spend money at Starbucks, right? So those are like the little distractions like that. I would say be mindful of your space, interact, ask a lot of questions. I interact with our members all the time, and I ask them a lot of engaging questions. What do you do? What are you working on? And some people get, in a sense, if you're not really from here, that whole what do you do can be off-putting, right? But it is important. How can I support you? That's really the better question. What are you working on? How can we support you? How can we help your business grow? I'm part of the EDA. I'm part of the chamber. I can put ears to the ground on any resources that you might be looking for. And I am very intentional about that, So I will connect people within the community that I feel like would be beneficial partnerships. And I've done it, at least 10 times. And so it's been great because they always come to fruition as something else growing from that. And so the biggest thing is, focusing on your members, asking them a lot of questions, make sure your space isn't a distraction.
I think you forgot one thing, which is you need to be a connector as well.
Oh,
a good person at heart.
Yes. And that really kind of goes to what I was saying for being intentional about, connecting them to the resources. But yeah, connecting people. Like I love connecting people to either resources or to other people, right? And that takes intentionality as well, right?
Right, exactly. I was going to actually, because I'm so excited that I was going to jump on the other side of the equation. Say a co-working space owner or a manager looking to hire a community person or a connector. What are some of the qualifications? I mean, not every co-working is still a new industry.
Absolutely. Right.
And I think, so if I was in the market looking for a community manager, what would be your advice to me? Like, look for this kind of signs.
So a great question, because as we begin to scale, we're going to be scaling here. Those are the type of things we've had to sit down and think about, right? We can't replicate people. Like, I can't be at every space. And really, it's really just kind of my training from Nordstrom. How do we hire somebody with just enough soft skills and just enough reliability that we can train, right, for everything else? And really, there are keywords that I look for, right, when I'm asking somebody, and I really do it through role playing. That's just my personal take.
Okay.
So if there was a conflict within the conference spaces, what would your response be? How would you be able to handle that? And you'll know right off the bat if somebody is avoids conflict, and we can't have that. Right, we need somebody who's not afraid, who's nice and sweet, but not afraid to be able to say, how can I help you both? Maybe I can move some things around, and not be like, oh gosh, they're fighting again. I think really you got to have somebody who is not afraid of people. They have to like people, obviously, because their service is to people, right? And they like having and understand the concept of community, right? And what does that mean? It's such a broad term, right? And really, community means how can I get the resources or connect people to each other, and those are the things I want to hear about. I want to hear that. I love helping people. I have no problem dealing with conflict. I like a clean space. I'm organized. Those are the type of attributes I would look for. Everything else can be teachable, honestly.
I thought, you're telling me if you're looking for someone, go to Nordstrom and start talking to them. Hey, are you looking for a new job?
I'm not gonna lie. It's a great pool of people. It's a great pool, I
mean, if you're watching it, here's an idea, okay? And send me the check later on.
Recruit from Nordstrom.
Walk into Nordstrom, hang out, and say, hey, every time they approach you, say, you would be a great community manager.
And they would be like, what is that?
You don't need to know.
I want to tour that. What is that? Oh, honestly, the biggest thing is Hightouch. And very few companies' culture touches on that, and some of the big known ones are the ones that I have been intentional about. Hey, I'm going to go work for this company because I want to know and I want to learn what they're all about. And I did. I grew from like really just being a summer hire to being an assistant manager of the largest department, which is, cosmetics department, to partnering with the store manager, has her admin, and it seems like such a down, but no, you're in charge of the whole $28 million P&L, they answer to you for the P&L, and you have to deal with the P&L on that scale. And it's a great administrative corporate background, eyesight, over what's going on overall. And Nordstrom it's a pretty great pool of people. So I don't mind calling some of the people I keep in the back of my pocket. Hey, what are you doing? What are you working on?
We need to start thinking because we need, like you said, these are skills that can be transferred over, but at the same time they don't teach it to us in colleges. Absolutely. So the questions you want to answer, that you want to ask, or you want them to start talking, because once people start talking, they just end up revealing themselves, right? Naturally, how do you deal with conflict? When the last time you dealt with conflict? How did you respond? Were you able to calm the conflict down? Were you able to have resolution? What did you do when you didn't have resolution? On the day-to-day, how is your organization? Do you do everything in one day, or do you kind of break them off and do it throughout the week? How do you, you kind of have insight about like how somebody manages their time, and you need somebody who's going to come in and not want to leave until these tasks are done. And they're small tasks, but they're very important. I agree with you, especially the dishes.
Yes, and I don't mind feeling, people are like, oh, the dishes, like everybody should know how to do the dishes, and it becomes a pain, right? But I don't mind checking in there, especially I go in the morning, I go after lunch, and I go right before I leave. I don't have to go in there more than that, right? And they're so mindful, and I communicate through email, like, hey guys, especially if it's crazy and it's like gotten out of control. Rarely happens because of the way I communicate via email. We're, thank you for being an amazing part of our community. I just want you to be mindful that other members are noticing, and honestly, your members, your peers and your members and other members here want to have as productive environment as you. And really that you got to clean up after your guests, and you got to clean up after yourself. And we all can play a part here to make this a collaborative space. And they're very thankful for those emails on occasion, right? Because I don't have to send them frequently. And after that, they come and they realize, like, it's not like the community manager that has a problem. My peers are having a problem. It's affecting them. It's not affecting my community manager. She's not trying to manage me. My peers are like, I can't work here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was thinking of something else, but I think, yes, I did. Actually, it came back. Thank you. It was like, I will tell you, and people are going to think I'm getting paid by Brickyard to talk something good about it, but I'm not. I would love to get paid, but I'm not getting paid. However, I think one thing I did notice is I think Brickyard is one of the few co-working spaces, or maybe the only co-working space I've been to where the toilets are unisex. Yet, I haven't found it to be in a messy state. Right, as in, obviously you do have cleaners who come and clean once a day or twice a day. Nevertheless, I think it's still most of the spaces do segregate male and female. So, and given the state, and why I bring it up is because I think in addition to kitchen and dishes, I think that's the other high topic where experiences can be bad.
Well, so it's funny you say that. We, with our first expansion, even with the second expansion, we've always had 2 bathrooms initially. With the second expansion now, we're adding another bathroom. Okay. And it's the members that have, and it has worked for a while for them to be unisex, but we're realizing that, we might have to do that where it's 1 female, 1 male, just the mindfulness, some are not as mindful as others, but we will always have a unisex bathroom. I think it's important, right? So one of them will stay unisex, and going forward, one will be male and female. But it has worked for a while. It's been great. Really, I think it's just been recently some issues for the females. And actually, that's why we increased our cleaning services. Right? Because we weren't going to do that. It was like, we'll just increase our cleaning services. This once a week is not going to work for us. This is not going to work. But who has complained the most? The men. It's not the females.
Why is it so clean?
No, that they have complained that, before we started the cleaning, they're like, you might want to make a designated female space. That was their suggestion. I was like, I'm so glad you're so mindful. That is so sweet, and the females have always been like, they're just like, that's just men, But the men are like, I don't know how the females are doing it. I'm like, oh, they're doing it because they have cleaning services that come in. I'm like, can you clean that up? But yeah, it is part of the amenities, right? It's the person. We're being intentional about making sure that somebody's in here at least 3 times the work week, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that between the two, we're hoping people can be responsible. But yeah, no, we want to make sure that we're obviously sensitive, and there is a unisex bathroom, but just being mindful of the woman. We're gonna create a woman's bathroom.
No, going back, and this is probably a little bit outside of Brickyard, but I just want to understand better. Why do some organizations such as Nordstrom, even the Ritz-Carlton, even Marriott, have such superb customer experiences versus others? Maybe, I do not know. I mean, there are a dime a dozen out there.
Right.
I don't want to take any shame anyone,
right,
but
of course.
Why is it? What's different? I mean, they're still hiring humans, right? They're still putting them through training,
right?
So, is it the training, or is it the personality, or is it a combination of? What's your opinion?
I honestly think it is the culture, right? And what I mean about that is that it's the consistency to uphold and keep accountable for measurable goals, right? You are measured a lot of times based on responses that are given from a customer.
Okay.
So that keeps you accountable on your controllables, right? We've given you training. What are you doing with that training, right? So that's important. That it puts it back on the person who's the employee to be able to say, man, based on the feedback that I got from a customer, I could have done something a little bit more different, or they weren't super satisfied, and the corporate will keep will basically address them as they come, and that's really the consistency. Like, as long as you're consistent with keeping your employees accountable to the standards through, customer, feedback or interactions, or, that's how you grade satisfaction, really, right? There's some things that people are people, and they're just, they're just hard to deal with, and, there's nothing you can satisfy, them with. Maybe they just want something for free. You can filter through those. But I think there's always an opportunity to do something better. And as long as you're open-minded to that, and you're the employee and you're open-minded to that, like allowing them to answer that question. How do you think we could have made that experience a little bit different and better? And allowing them to answer that question for themselves helps them think through, like, the next time, I'll keep that in mind, But it has a lot to do with the partnership of the employee and management to be able to say, I'm going to keep, this is our culture. The standard is the standard. There's no bending that, and this is a consistent experience we want to provide. And I will always be here to train you, but you got to be receptive to changes. So they've been really good about that.
Very nice, cool. What's next in terms of you, as in, what are some of the stuff that you're working on, or what keeps you up at night in terms of Brickyard?
Yeah, the things that, as we begin to look to scale, what's kind of interesting is that the reason we're really kind of being pushed to scale is because other counties are realizing the benefit of having a Brickyard in their county, right? So a lot of counties are like, this is very productive for, all the families that are here. It keeps, the money from 9 to 5 still in our community. How can we provide such a great space for our community here at Prince William County or Lorton or, Fairfax City or, all, DC, wherever, all these other different communities. How can we do that for, our suburban people, because the city dwellers have spaces. Yes. Right, but it's really the suburban families who don't want to leave their, in a sense, one Loudon areas, right, where they have all of their amenities right there. Why would I want to go into the city if I can work and play here? So that's kind of been great, and those are the type of things that keep me up. Like, how as we begin to scale, how can we correlate and integrate that culture consistently everywhere, where we're all speaking and saying the same thing, providing our vision and helping our members all the same ways. And we have partnered with, a marketing strategist to be able to help us, kind of bring that brand together. And so we're all doing that. And before it was easy. It was just 3 of us. We're telling everybody the brand. But now as we begin to scale, it's a little bit harder to manage. So yeah, we're all getting on the same page, saying the same things, and I'm just constantly thinking of, like, we need to add that to the Brickyard playbook. We need to make sure that things that other people may not think the way I think. Mm-hmm. Like checking the kitchen 3 times a day. That's just something innately with me. I take the trash out after lunch. That's just the things that I know. Just kind of. Well, being a mother, really, like, okay, those are the type of things that, like, those are the big fluxes that keeps it all minimal, right? It's like, the trash is always low. No. Somebody takes that out.
There's
no trash fairy. There's no button that goes to the trash can. So, yeah, those are the type of things that, some people are just going to think about, right? So I make all those little notes in our little Brickyard playbook and how to make things flow very easily. So, playbook. Yeah.
It's very important.
It's very important. Continuity binder, so the military calls them.
Okay, can you touch on the importance of it,
yes.
right? And maybe explain why all spaces should have one even before they open, or when should they have one?
You should have one before you open, but it's fluid. I tell them all the time. It's going to change based on pretty much everything as things go, right? But as long as it's staying, know what your mission and your vision is for your space. Are you trying to do this specifically for the suburbans? Are you trying to, is your niche, in the city for, like, specifically for attorneys, and all of that will be based on that, right? What the needs for that particular community is going to be. But yes, the playbook is essential because it's like any instruction manual. Like, I forgot how to change out the filter. We can go back to the instruction and be like, you know what, that's how you do it. In case that there's like lack of, system, consistency, you can go back and be like, you know what, we used to do things this way. It changed. I don't know how it changed. Maybe like somebody isn't doing it consistent. Let's go back and see like what does the playbook say, and that actually keeps the culture consistent, right? No, in Brickyard we do it this way. At Brickyard we're intentional about this. We're mindful of our members. At Brickyard we make sure the kitchen's always clean. That's just as important as member events. So I think as long as it's written down somewhere for people to see and measure. Right, we can measure those things when we do feedback. You say, okay, as a community manager, here's your quarterly feedback. These are the things this is our culture. You are consistent here. Check, 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 check. You have opportunities here. Just be mindful of that. It just allows them something for them to refer back to. Yeah, there's no confusion about what's expected of them.
Cool, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So now on to a very burning question I have, which is why do they call you Dr. Fixer around here?
Dr. Fixer. I have a plethora of nonsense information in my brain. For instance, okay, so this is kind of like off the subject, but Richard, our property manager, is like, man, I have this he drives from Maryland. I have this long drive to Maryland, and I don't want to drink coffee because I don't want to stop and use the bathroom. And it's like sometimes it can be an hour and 45 minutes. I said, you know what you should do? You should get a trail mix and put chocolate covered espresso beans in there. He's like, oh my God, that's genius. I really, honestly, that is really what drives me. How can I help people, right? And innately, I'm always looking to solve that problem, right? So I'm constantly trying to solve that problem. But more than that, I think what is the reason why people call me Dr. Fisher is because not only do I try to solve it, but I go back around and make sure that that it was a good solution.
Okay, so I think 2 words that I wrote up over here is empathy and follow-up.
Yes, empathy is so important. So important, yes.
I mean, maybe, are those the 2 words that I'm using?
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
I agree. Yeah, I try to see where they're coming from, what would I do, and hey, did that work, after providing them a solution. But yeah, I almost have a solution, not on a higher level, but like on the day-to-day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've had that issue too. This is what I did. But yeah, I'm efficiency driven.
Okay.
That's really where it comes from.
Okay.
I'm efficiency driven, so anything that is going to hinder my efficiency, right? I am like aggressively trying to find a solution to. And like having to stop in a drive that's already long, that would hinder efficiency. So I'm like, oh, how could you maximize your time from your drive, solve all these solutions?
If he was asking me, or if I started even guess what I would be recommending.
I'm curious.
I'd be like, dude, Costco has a great deal.
You're an adult. Stop.
Guess what they do when they go to space?
Right. Hey, these are all real. That's true. That's very true.
Weird. I mean, no one's gonna know. You're just gonna walk a little funny, but that's about it.
And that's why you come to me and I give you other solutions like trail mix and espresso beans.
Maybe now you know why I would never get a job as a community manager of culture and marketing, because my idea would be like, not efficiency, figure out the easiest solution.
What is the easiest? Like, what would the first thing you would want to do? Just go to Costco.
Yeah, go to Costco. What do astronauts do?
Oh my gosh.
Mine's better, actually. I think I'm going to argue with you.
You know what? We'll let the people vote. Trail mix and espresso beans or diapers, guys? Which one would you? What do you vote?
It's what the astronauts use.
Oh, well, true.
It's NASA approved. I have my thing.
Oh,
but cool. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe these are actually very important points that I think, all jokes aside, which is empathy, follow-up skills, efficiency-driven. I think having a playbook. These are very, very important.
Absolutely.
Intentional partnerships. Something new I've learned.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is why I love what I do, which is talk to all the smart
yes,
people.
It's amazing.
And get what's in
Oh
their
my gosh,
head.
I want your job.
You can have it.
How do I apply?
There's no applying.
Anne's like, no, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And tell Anne, hey, you got
Hey.
Sajid. He's going to recommend.
He has diapers in his car for everybody. Oh my
He carries it around. Here you go.
This is his solution for everything.
My intentional partnership would be with Amazon or with Costco.
So, right.
Hey.
We'll Instacart all the diapers that everyone needs for their commutes.
Or maybe I will open up a store. Out of the
Adult
trunk.
diaper store.
From the
Tell
trunk
me
of
how
my
that
car.
goes.
Okay, cool. Last question before we wrap up is, do you have any competitors who come and visit, or maybe other, I wouldn't say competitors, but other spaces who come in and stop by? How do you, what's your reaction? I mean,
You know, there's plenty of space for everyone, right? I mean, we have a Regis like right down the street, you know? It's not far. It's just a couple buildings down, and there's a community for everyone. Brickyard isn't for everyone, and Regis isn't for everyone, or Make Space isn't for everyone, or, you know, WeWork isn't for everyone. So we want to, you know, share with like, hey, yeah, this is what we're working on, this is what we've done, this is our expansion, and do you have any questions? Like, we're fairly open to that. We're not, I'm trying to hide. There's nothing magical here, but it's just, this works for us, and we are open to discussion. When I go to, the small business committees at the economic development, there are other co-working spaces there, and we all kind of share like, hey, yeah, we've got some like new cool people, this is what they're working on. We're not afraid to share those things, and I think it's important to know there's so many people here, and we can only fit so many people, right? And so it's important to collaborate and say, hey, yeah, it works for me, we should get together, and what are you working on? Maybe somebody out in Percival, it's better for them to go out there, and so we have spaces for them to recommend, so it's good.
So I'll distill it down to it's having that mindset where there's plenty of sun for everyone.
Absolutely. There is.
Don't
there
think
is.
you're going to run out of sunshine.
No, absolutely not.
Don't be so like stingy. Open up.
Open up, because there are, we want our members to be successful. And there may be some collaborative things that our members can do with your members. And then it's at the end of the day, they can't be members if they don't have something to work on, right? So that's really, those intentional partnerships and those intentional connections, right?
Great. Well, Michele, amazing Michele, Dr. Fixer. I don't know, I'm running out of
adjectives.
Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
I know you're very busy.
Thank you.
However, this was equally important that we capture your knowledge.
Absolutely.
And spread this knowledge because I
just
think
a little
others
bit of
can
knowledge,
benefit.
just a little bit of what I contribute. But honestly, it's this place is special, and I love the people, and I'm so glad that this is my first experience as a community manager. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to grow with the company.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.